A flock of birds is flying in the sky. Unexpectedly, after a gunshot, countless birds fell wounded. The boy looked at the ground covered in the birds' bodies. They were cruelly shot by hunters on the beach. The boy looked around to see if any were still alive. Then he found a nest of baby birds beside the bodies. The little ones are still waiting for their mother to come back and feed them. But their mother will never return. Uncle Hu then told the boy, "Don't even think about adopting them. They are too young. They won't survive." Unable to bear the thought, the boy ultimately ignored his uncle. He took off his coat and laid it flat on the ground. Then, reaching out carefully, he placed the baby birds on his coat and took them home. Once home, the boy quickly found a wooden box. He lined the bottom of the box with newspaper. Then, he added another layer of fresh hay. After everything was ready, the boy placed several chicks into the wooden box. And so, the birds had their new home. But now, the biggest problem was how to feed them. The clever boy took apart his father's oar, using it to mash the caught fish into a paste. Then, he fed them drop by drop using a straw, even though he covered himself in fish mud. The boy was very happy. He took special care of the weaker birds. The boy took his father's only scarf and made them a luxurious private room to take care of them properly. He even slept with them. He used his own body heat to keep the birds warm. He only had one thought in mind. He wanted to raise all the weaver birds and care for them until they grew up. As time went by, the little ones gradually grew up. The boy let them return to their nests to sleep, but the frail one always slept in the boy's bed. From then on, the boy did one thing every day. He would go fishing with his father. After returning, he would cut the fish into pieces, then mash them up and feed them to the birds. These guys are eating more and more each day. They started by eating one fish at a time, but now they eat bucket after bucket. It is incredibly fast. It seems like they can never get enough. Finally, Father could not take it anymore. Their daily food consumption is equivalent to that of 4 children. But the boy is very happy, because under his care, the 3 weaver birds have grown up healthy. From then on, he also had 3 more friends. The 4 little guys played together happily every day. That day, the 3 little guys saw their father go to the toilet, so they swarmed him, making it impossible for their father to use the toilet in peace. This action instantly made their father explode. He decided he had to get rid of the 3 little guys, but what their father did not expect was that one of these weaver birds ended up saving his life. The boy held the baby birds tightly, his heart heavy with sadness. Then the father said, "They have grown up. It is time to return them to nature. Because we can't take care of them forever, they need to learn to live on their own, so they can survive at sea." The boy became their mother. He personally taught them how to hunt in the sea. The boy unintentionally saved 3 baby birds. Under his careful care, the chicks gradually grew up. It was time to release them back into nature. So the boy acted as their mother, teaching them to catch fish in the water. He put his head underwater. He bit down on a fish and then surfaced. He showed them that only by doing this would they not go hungry, watching the little ones remain unmoved. The boy had to put his head underwater again. I taught them to fish again and again. Finally, through the boy's persistent efforts, the geese and egrets learned from the boy to put their heads in the water to find food. In this way, the birds learned how to survive. After they learned to hunt, the boy took them to the beach. He spread his arms, running and flapping his arms. Soon, one of the birds learned. It spread its wings and flew into the sky. Then another one imitated the boy. It spread its wings and flew into the sky. Finally, Pung remained on the ground, unmoved, because it did not want to leave the boy. In its heart, the boy was its mother. Actually, the boy was also very reluctant, but ultimately he had to release it back into nature. After the boy's constant reassurance, Peng finally summoned the courage and flew out towards the sea. Before long, the day for release arrived. The boy, holding Peng, went out to sea on his father's boat. The 2 birds found their companions and flew away together, leaving the boy. The last one stayed in the boy's arms, but it was always unwilling to leave. After flying a few meters, it landed back on the water. Turning to look at the little master it had grown up with, the boy fought back tears, urging it to go quickly. And so, the last one also flew into the distance, leaving the boy. The boy watched the wild goose flying farther and farther away. Finally, he could not help but cry. Since the parrot left, the boy felt an unprecedented loneliness. Whenever he had time, he would go to the flock, but he never saw his 2 little ones. Until this day, his father went out to sea to fish as usual. Unexpectedly encountering a once-in-a-century storm, his father looked at the terrible weather and quickly started the boat to head for the shore. But the boat malfunctioned soon after they set off. It stopped not far from the shore. The boy watched his father, very worried, but they were helpless. Suddenly, a huge wave swept the father into the water. He disappeared from the surface in an instant. noticed that the man went out fishing and encountered a storm. A huge wave swept the man into the sea. His son on the shore cried out desperately for his father. Fortunately, the man surfaced. He used his last ounce of strength to swim towards his small boat. He clung tightly to a corner of the boat. He waited quietly for death. Suddenly, it appeared on the beach. So the boy ran over, opened the wooden box, and took out the rope. Then he threaded the needle and sewed the hat securely to it. The boy called out. Hearing him, the goose flew over at top speed. He told it to save his father. Then the boy threw his hat into the air. He ran, keeping his eye on the hat in the distance. After catching the hat, it flew towards his father. The boy on the shore let out the kite string at the same speed. The goose was getting closer and closer to his father. Unfortunately, his strength gave out, and his hat instantly fell into the sea. The boy looked despairingly at the ocean's surface. Suddenly, Peng dived again and snatched the hat. Seeing this, the father waved to it, and so, the hat was successfully delivered into the father's hands. The father put the hat into his clothes. He moved slowly towards the shore, using the lifeline. Unexpectedly, the waves came crashing down fiercely. He pulled the rope straight into the sea. Luckily, Uncle Hugh reacted quickly enough to chase after it. He caught the rope. The boy and his uncle pulled together. They slowly pulled his father toward the shore. Finally, through their combined efforts, his father was pulled back to the shore. The boy threw down the rope, ran over, and hugged his father tightly. If it were not for your help, father and son would have been separated by death long ago. Peng watched the young master reunite with his father, and the weight on his heart lifted. After this incident, the boy and Peng became internet sensations overnight, and they received various interviews and reports. Many residents vied to take photos with them. Peng returned to the boy's side and never left again. They played together on the beach every day. They went sandboarding and sailed small boats together. They looked at the scenery on the sea, but good times are always short-lived. That day, a hunter came to the beach again. He raised his hunting rifle. These people were the ones who killed Peng's mother. Peng clearly remembered these people. He flew straight towards them. Regardless of the danger, he wanted to avenge his dead mother, but the hunter had a gun. He shot Peng directly out of the sky. When the boy heard the gunshot and arrived at the scene, it was already too late. Peng lay dying on the ground. Seeing the boy, the hunters fled. The boy held him and sobbed uncontrollably. He could not bear to let go. Even after returning home, the boy still refused to let go. It was not until evening that Peng left the boy. The boy instantly burst into tears. Animals are so amazing. They have the power to heal the soul. Animals are quite spiritual. If you are kind to them, they will follow you and interact with you in return. Fill your lonely, monotonous days.